Hello.
Hello, Lacodemus.
Greetings.
Hi.
Greetings.
Hello,
Hi.
Lacodemus.
And how are you? Well, I heard you speaking to God, so I know that you're not that great.
Yeah.
So I won't ask that.
Okay.
How about if I say, I'll tell you about my discussions with the eighth
Oh
dimensionals.
boy, that's what we
I
want to
took
hear.
some friends along with me. Um, since since I have some creator being friends and we have like a little band that we play, um, it's not like a band like on your planet, of course, but it's like a little orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we we went and we played for them. I said,
Awesome.
"How would you like to hear a concert? How would you
Wow.
like to have
Yeah.
some entertainment?"
Wow.
And they said, "What is that?" Well, because they didn't understand the word.
Oh.
But when we described it to them, they said, "Oh yes, we would like to have some of that." Um, so we gave them a little bit of a concert. There was also some singing. We invited a couple angels along to do some singing for us
Very nice.
whenever it was appropriate, of course. But mostly it was music, and they found it very interesting. I think they liked it,
Mm.
and they started to um, ask questions.
Mm.
After it was over, I went to them and started to speak to them and say, if there's any questions that you have about what you just heard, please let us know, because we really would like you to understand it to the fullest of your knowledge. And they were like, yes, we do have some questions.
Mm.
So they were asking, um, uh, they were asking about the actual rhythm of it a little bit, because their rhythms are so disjointed, and ours were very rhythmic, and they liked the fact that it was sort of synchronistic,
Yeah.
and they were trying to understand it in a very logical way instead of an artistic way. They were trying to intellectualize what was happening there, but they liked it. They definitely did, and they brought some understanding of their own to it, and made some very interesting comments about um, dimensional thought, the dimension of it. They were looking into the frequency and dimension and vibrational aspects of it, and found it to be very interesting that way, because it was not something that was computational and naturally computational, let's put it that way. And so it was outside of the norm. And so many things that they asked were about the vibration and the rhythm and and there was a portion of it that had some electronic sounding, very high stringy electronic sounds in it, and they found that very interesting, and several comments about that, about the electronic portion of it. So uh, they were very interested.
Oh, good. That's good.
This music that you played them, was it original music that you created, or were you like using our music to let them hear our music, like playing something that
Several
we?
different things. We used your music, we used our music. We gave them quite a different, a whole lot of different sounds. So not just one or two artists, but we used several different artists.
Oh.
Mm. Wonderful.
So we gave them a cross section of sound that they could analyze.
Oh,
And
great.
so they're listening to that and analyzing it. And plus, we brought angels for some vocals.
Mm.
Some of your songs have vocal strains in them, and we used the angels for that.
Wow. Wonderful.
So this was kind of a translation of our music into a higher realm.
Well, we tried to duplicated as much
Oh.
as closely as possible.
Oh, wow, cool. And the members of your band, were they in creator being form, or did you have to come down into an eighth dimensional form and form a
Well, we
band?
sort of had to come to an eighth dimensional form, but we had practiced ahead of time how to do that.
Mm.
So, and we had the angel come in more of an eighth dimensional form as well. So everything looked pretty normal to them, but sounded very different.
Mm. Excellent.
So they were like, I would say, for about 80% of them, they were blown away.
Wow.
Because
That's
it was
huge.
not something that they had ever experienced before. Now, 20% were unaffected, just as on your planet, 20% are pretty much unaffected. But the 80% had many different variations in their thought process. So I would say we had questions from about 80% of the group.
Mm.
Were within the 80%, were any of the leaders who were making the decision
Of
about
course,
destroying
that
us
is what we
within
were.
that?
Yes, it was mostly leadership people that we were doing this for because this was not for the common folk, of course.
Mm.
This was something special and had to be it had to be highly approved, and we had to go through all kinds of different approvals. And this was only for like, I think it was 104 diplomats.
Oh, it was directly to diplomats. So there,
Correct.
so 20% of the diplomats were not
Correct.
impressed.
About a little over 20, it was about 100 diplomats. So about 80% of them were actively questioning different
Oh,
things.
excellent.
Now,
Excellent.
Now you have to understand eighth dimensionals, which they do not question in the same way you do, but they will send through electronic thought processes. So it wasn't like there was hands raised, but it was a bunch of messages through a group of computer monitors. So we were able to answer these things and send back responses to the group. We would flash the question and then the answer.
And the big question is, do you think this had any effect on their decision about allowing
Yes,
us to
I
ascend?
do. I
Oh, good.
think that right now it's changed their thought process uh, at least 10 to 15%. Now that is a lot in comparison to the was, because let me say let me tell you why I think that. Because they actually pulled back and they put music into their equation where it was not.
Wow. That's great.
Yes, the music was not in their equation.
Wow.
Their music was in the equation, but not this music. So this music now became part of the equation,
Fabulous.
which was also something very positive because it uh, it cut down on I don't know, it made things a little smoother. I don't know how to explain it.
I would think it would eliminate some of the fear.
Fear, they don't have a lot of fear there.
Oh,
But
their thing they said before.
their fear was
originally
with the whole group, yes.
Oh,
But individually, they don't have much fear individually. But the group does.
oh.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Um, so, yes, it cut down on the total fear, yes. I'm not sure how much. We have to go back. They asked us to do another concert, if you will,
Oh, cool.
at some time in the future. They want to diagnose what they have heard, and then they want new material.
Oh, wow.
So we'll use we didn't use all of your material. We used some of it, so we'll use some other of it.
Excuse
So,
me, I forgot to do something. I was going to play my latest music while we have this dialogue. Just continue talking to Joe. It's recording.
all right.
I want to put that new music on.
Wow.
So, but anyway, yes, so the reaction was rather positive, I thought. And I think that them asking for another concert in perhaps, I'm not sure when, they didn't exactly say, but for them to even ask for that is quite phenomenal, I think.
Yes, I feel that too. Yeah, that's really wonderful. It's
So,
wonderful.
and now it's become somewhat part of the group. Some of them are actually listening to it over and over again. So that is something that we find that is good. They're really listening to it. Not everyone, but I would say about maybe 40 or 45% are actually listening to it regularly.
Oh, that's very nice.
I created this music this week for the purpose of them having the newest thing to listen to. And I've been doing a lot of interaction with other people listening to my music and hoping that maybe they're tuning in to the impact our music has on people when they're listening to it.
What instruments did you use?
Well, there's always, when all of my recordings always have hundreds of layers of music we've done in the past. This has music that we created in 1993 in it, whole albums, and then I'll layer whole layers of breaths that I've collected, breaths from the cosmos, breaths from the galaxy, breaths, layers and layers of breaths of every time there was a stellar wave activation, and I'm always having the matrix send this energy, this information through me and breathing it. So there's layers and layers of my breath of consciousness of what's going on all over the universe at these certain times on Earth. I'm breathing the current frequency of what's happening on Earth, and that's been going on for 20 years. I've been layering and layering, and so I have all these layers, and as I layer it, it gets more and more etheric. The more information I get, it doesn't get more dense, it gets more etheric. It gets to the point where you really can't hear it anymore. So then I can put more and more on top, and you can hear a little bit more, but then eventually it gets invisible, and then I put more on top of that, and so there's layers, there's millions of layers here that you can't hear them, but it's all there. And then on the top, I tried to put more pleasant interweaving of sounds of, what did I use, flutes and trumpets and chiming sounds, and there's some electronic techno sounds in it, but a lot of it was music that Joe created in 1993. All of that music combined with new music that I've collected recently, and even some little bits of other things that other people.
Well, we will listen. We will listen to it and try to reproduce it for them. We may just play it for them if we cannot reproduce it, but we can, many times we can get close to reproducing the original sound.
What I was hoping was, before, when we didn't want them interfering, they were always here listening to all of these sessions. So I just assumed they're here right now listening. That's why I wanted to play.
They are. There is, but not a group of them, just a few guardians, as they call them. So the guardians are listening, the ones that are always around you, listening to everything you do, say, and speak, so they always hear your music. So I'm sure that they report on that. But this is for the ones that are important. We'll try to reproduce it as much as possible and as closely as possible. And if we cannot, we'll just play it for them and have a section of just played music from your library.
Yeah, the problem with our music is there's so many layers of where it just disappears, the sound disappears, and then on this equipment here, even though I can hear it, it won't record. It just won't record, and
Yeah.
so I have to lower the volume again, and then I lose a lot of the sounds, and then when I make them more etheric, it disappears. So a lot of I don't know if the sounds are really in there, or if they escaped, or if
They will still be in there because they are the frequency sometimes, even though you may not be able to hear it, the frequency is still alive. And
Yes,
so
yes.
you understand that frequencies are not always heard, but still exist and are still experienced.
Yes.
yes, and we can feel them. We can feel them. That's mostly what
Exactly.
people feel.
And they
with
do
our
too.
music.
They are
feel.
experiencing. That's what music is all about. It's the experience of it. And so once we are working with them, we allow them to experience what has been written and performed in the past. And so as this has been, as you are doing this at this time, we may just play this for them as we at the beginning or something, so that they may hear this as we are getting ready or something.
And the other thing that I thought might be helpful to them, if there was any way of doing this, is if there's some way of finding what goes on within the mind of a person on earth that's listening to it, when I'm sending it to another person and they listen to it and they say, oh, it was so wonderful, so peaceful, it gave me all of these healings. Seems like it's important for them to know what the music does to people on this
Yes,
planet.
we got those kinds of responses as well. It seemed that some of them thought it was calming, that it was, it seemed to change their attitude or personal thought processes. So yes, that was in some of the comments.
Oh, so it does that to them too. The same effect it has
Oh yeah,
on people on Earth, it has that effect on them.
yes, of course.
Oh, wonderful.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well,
I think
then-
God is ready to report back.
Okay. Thank you.
One moment, please.
Thank you, Lacodemus.
Thank you, Lacodemus.
I hope that was a good enough report for you.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much. So you
Good,
will,
and I will
so you'll
give
be
you
doing
more
it-
later.
And how long till you'll do the next concert? You don't know yet?
They did not say when they wanted it. We have to wait for them to give us a time and a date.
Okay.
However, they did request that they would want to hear something more in the future.
Oh, good.
So this was a very positive thing for them to say.
Yes, very. Thank you. Wonderful.
Yes,
Okay,
but they did not give an actual time and date. But I will let you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
One moment I will bring back a father.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have returned.